So recently I caught up with an old friend and she was telling me that she got divorced. And I was so surprised because her and her husband were such a cute couple and they had been together for 11 years. So I asked her, like, what happened? I figured something bad happened. She's like, honestly, I was just bored.
Whoa, 11 years, three kids, stability, and she walks away because she's bored. Ladies, let let's call this what it really is. Boredom has been dressed up as entitlement, would you say? The culture whispers, it lies and whispers. If you're not thrilled, you're not happy. But here's the truth. Joy doesn't come from constant excitement, does it? It comes from faithfulness, love, commitment, partnership, faith in God. What else would you add? I would love to hear. But I believe that these are fundamental, basic things that are needed for our lives to be filled with joy. And you'll see in a moment why I make I made these statements. Because as you stick around, you're going to see as we unpack this video exactly why this wife, as reported by her friend, wanted out. Um, but you're going to see also what she wanted most is exactly what she walked away from. So here is her friend's explanation as it was told to her by this wife why she wanted what she wanted and eventually got a divorce for. So let's take a listen to see if we can somehow, or if I can somehow make a sense of what's going on here. Let's watch.
She's like, honestly, I was just bored. Like, my husband, all he did was work. I was a stay-at-home mom. We had three kids, and I just got lonely and bored. And she says that when she would bring it up, like, he would take her out, but it was just boring to her. Like, she needed some excitement in her life.
Well, let's go back to the idea of boredom, right? That quiet killer. It's not infidelity, not money, just boredom. And here's the trap. Boredom blinds you to what is, right? It focuses mostly on what is not. It makes you blind to provision, partnership, and love. It also breeds discontent and ingratitude, doesn't it? Notice the cultural lie that's sneaking in. And here's what it says. If he's not giving you thrills, he's failing you. No, that is not what is happening. That's a big lie and deception by the culture, which is fueled by the enemy, right? That lie is coming from the pit of hell. God wired men to provide, protect, and lead. Sometimes the heart's quiet satisfaction, right? When the heart is satisfied, it looks like boredom to a restless soul. If your soul is restless, it's hard to sit in the silence or the quiet of satisfaction. And you're going to see even where this led, because what's coming up next is the comparison trap that made her think her marriage wasn't enough. Let's take a listen to see what else she had to say.
She just felt like she was just a mom and a wife, and her husband just wasn't doing that for her. And she had other friends that had, boyfriends, or like they had just got married, and they were always going out, always going on vacation, always partying, like going to the club, going to the bar, hanging out with friends, and they did none of that. And when she would bring it up to her husband would always tell her, like, I gotta work, like.
Ah, yes. social media envy is in real life, right? In real time. Others' fun looks exciting, right? I grew up hearing that all that glitters is not gold. Have you ever heard that? And so many people are seeing the highlight reels of people of other story on social media, the parts they want you to see, and they become envious of that, envious of something that is not even real for the most part. So others' fun looks exciting. So suddenly, like in this case, your husband is boring. Oh, boring Bob. All of a sudden, from exciting and providing, you give a name to that. Now he's boring Bob. The irony. The very thing she called boring, his work, provision, stability, is the foundation of her life and her kids' future. And she got blinded by that. What else would you call that? What other name would you give to what's happening right here? Proverbs 14, verse 30 reminds us, it says, a heart at peace gives life to the body, but envy rots the bones. Ladies, dear wife, don't trade a rock solid foundation for a glittering mirage. Don't. It glitters, but sometimes that's very same thing that glitters is what cuts deeply. So we're going to now see what happens when fantasy meets reality and reality stings. Let's hear more.
So they ended up getting divorced, and now, she's single, she lives alone, she's working, and she's dating. So then I told her, oh, well, that must be exciting, like dating and stuff. And she's like, no, I hate it.
So now she's single. Oh, the freedom is fun illusion has now become her reality. Reality check. Partying, clubbing, and dating without a foundation is exhausting. It's lonely and unfulfilling. I thank God that by his grace and mercy, I have been married for 40 years and counting since 1985. And I'm so grateful that because of his mercy, I have not needed to gone into the dating world. I would not know where to start, and I'm just being transparent. I would not know where to start in this confusing, fake, counterfeit, AI driven world. It's hard. I mean, I counsel with, in my world work as a licensed marriage family therapist and a relationship certified relationship coach, work with all kinds of relationship issues over 20 plus years. I can tell you when I work with some young people today, young adults who are trying to date or have met someone, they're not even sure the person they've met is real sometimes, if especially if it's on the internet. So that becomes exhausting for them. And sometimes it's driven them into loneliness and unfulfilled life. So this is what she was craving. She wanted excitement, but excitement alone doesn't provide diapers, it doesn't provide meals, security, or someone to come home for you every day. And the sad reality that she found this out or was finding this out the hard way. So here's the irony. It it hits hard because what she left is exactly what she's craving now. Isn't that interesting? Let's see what it is. Her friend continued to tell us about her conversation with this married woman who is now no longer married. Let's check it out.
She said, no one wants to help me out. Like, I'm trying to find someone that's going to help take care of my kids. She's like, I just want someone to be a provider, not just a good time.
Here's the ultimate irony, if I can drive that point home. She left the man who was already doing exactly that. He worked, he provided, he loved, but it wasn't flashy enough to keep her attention. I cannot tell you how many wives I speak to and try to make this point that when a husband seemingly is having his head down and working feverishly, especially if he's the entrepreneurial type or the career driven type, he wants more than nothing to see his family provided for. He wants nothing more than to see his family happy and having the things that makes life a bit easier. And so he works hard. And sometimes she sees that and she will go after, she attacks that. The irony sometimes is when he's doing well and his business is doing well, she enjoys all the things that comes with that. The vacations, the nice home, the nice car, but then the very same thing, and I can understand, don't get me wrong. I believe two things can be true. She can still have her needs where she needs her husband to have that deeper intimacy and connection. And that's it, to show you that I do understand. I wrote this book, The Joyful Wife, 7 connection skills to better understand your husband, deepen intimacy and rekindle love. The reason why, because I've seen this so often plays out. And so, but she needs to understand that his provision and the things he's trying to do is really for her and the family. And sometimes those are the things that he feels that she doesn't appreciate, and he withdraws and shuts down. And he is now labeled many times as boring. You know, the Bible warns of something like this. It says in Proverbs 14, verse 1, a wise woman builds her house, but a foolish one tears it down with her own hands. Proverbs 14, verse 1. This, this is real life example of that exactly what's happening as this wife has torn down her own house with her own hands. Now, I know that I'm not going to sit here and think that the husband doesn't have his part to play. I'm not saying I don't know his story, but I can tell you he's not perfect. I can tell you that. But we're talking about her coming to this place of labeling him boring Bob and then decide she'll want something more exciting in her life. Well, you know, this is what has led to where she's at. And here is now the crux. Things begin to, the noose is tightening, so to speak. Her ex moves on while she's stuck wondering where her fun or why her fun doesn't fill the void. Now rubber meets the road. Now she begins to recognize what she had. Someone says this, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bushes. And we also hear this, the grass may look greener on the other side, but it's only greener because of the effort someone else is making to keep the grass greener, or what the grass is covering up that you don't see. You don't see what's below the grass, and maybe it's covering up all the different things that you would not like to know what's under that. So it may look greener, but like you're seeing here, it may not be true that it's always greener. Her ex has begun to move on, and now here is where the collision begins to happen. Let's watch.
I guess now her ex-husband is dating someone, like seriously. They have been divorced for a total of 3 years, and he has been dating this girl for 2 years. She has 2 kids, and they're already living together. She says that he's fully taking care of her. Like, the girl doesn't work, she's a stay-at-home mom, they haven't had any new kids.
Notice what's happening here. The man did not stop being a provider when she walked away. He only found someone who values him as a provider. Regret is bitter, isn't it? So God rewards faithfulness. So the lesson here is stability, and provision are treasures, not boring obstacles, as she misinterpreted. And again, maybe no fault of her own. She may have spent too much time as a stay-at-home mom, which unfortunately, and I'm not saying all stay-at-home moms do this, so please hear me and don't misquote me on this because I can see easily somebody start typing away that Kingsley is saying that stay-at-home mom, all they do is watch soap operas and on social media, and all they do is spend their time on TikTok. And some do. I'm not saying all, some do. And we're not going to sugarcoat that because, I find Satan, the Bible says the devil finds work for idle hands. Now, I'm not saying all, again, please, don't get me wrong. Not all stay-at-home moms, because I know it's a full-time job. It's a hard job. It is something that takes every moment of the day. And that's why I tell wives sometimes, I mean, husbands sometimes who would say, my wife is at home all day with the kids, and I come home and this is not done, and that's not done. I said, sir, please, wait a minute. She's at home working her butt hard, if not harder than you are out there. So please don't give me that. Her work is as valuable and as important. So I want to make that point. But unfortunately, some wives like this wife found time to see what she doesn't have as she looked through the lens of what others have. Where did she find the time with three kids and a husband to be bored? So I want to put that out there, and I would love to hear your thoughts. Again, if you are thinking differently, I'd love to hear your comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And I would love for you to subscribe to this channel and hit the thumbs up button if something is evoking emotions in you in any way, left or right. Hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe, and let me hear your comment. Let's have a conversation about this very important topic that we are now describing and dealing with. So here's the wake up call where regret meets reality. Let's see what happens.
And she's pissed because she's like, how can he move on so fast? Like, I can't even find nobody, and he just found someone so quick, blah, blah, blah.
Dear wife, ladies, chasing excitement over faithfulness leaves empty arms and, unfortunately, an aching heart. Thrills fade, provision and partnership endure. When you find a good man, keep him. He may not be as exciting as others are. I wouldn't call myself an exciting person. My wife would probably say, he may, I don't know, I can't speak for her, but there's a reason why we've been married for 40 years. There's something about what she sees in me and I see in her that with God's grace, and I want to always quantify that it's God's grace and God's mercy because our marriage have only lasted because of that. I believe that embracing the mind of Christ is the fastest way, the best, most profound way. I can't even describe. It's the way that truly allow you when you practice and implement the mind of Christ, not perfectly, but enough to walk in forgiveness and love and grace and mercy for each other. You can navigate that. You can navigate that. I know I'm a we're perfect examples of that. Not perfect people, but examples of that. So if you're struggling in boredom, don't burn down the house because the candles lost their spark. Build something new together instead. As my wife and I have gotten older than we were many years ago, we had to adjust and realize the things that worked the way they once did, the excitement, the get up and go, it's not true as it was. We're still keeping the lights on. We're keeping the candle burning, but we have to also be to understand the reality of things. So just wanted to mention that because we know in our own relationship that if something the relationship have lost its spark, build something new together, a new hobby, new adventures, things you can like together. Like my wife and I, we love traveling. We love going to places and going out to eat and so on. So we have learned now to adjust and we're enjoying that. So I want to encourage you that as you have listened to this video, and you're saying, well, Kinsley, where did you get these ideas from? Well, I've been doing this for over 2 decades, and most of this I've described, I talk about not only in my book, The Joyful Wife, but I also have created a 6 week coaching, biblical and evidence-based coaching journey. It's called the Joyful Marriage Quest. And I want to encourage you to, if you want to know more about my thought process about this and how I help wives like yourself cut through cultural lies and reconnect with their husbands and build joy that lasts, then I want you to um, make sure that you connect with me. Don't let culture convince you that fun is better than faithfulness. True joy comes from partnership, respect, and provision, not temporary thrills. So if you want to reclaim your husband's heart and build lasting joy, I want to invite you to get on the wait list for my webinar, The Secret to Unlocking Your Husband's Heart and finally experiencing the joy you've been praying for. Now, I want you to go to buildyourhappiermarriage.com/waitlist, get on the wait list, and I'll send you right away my free booklet. It's called Reconnect. And in there, I share with you some basic steps of what you can do to start reconnecting with your husband right away. But you also will be on the list. So when I open up the marriage quest, you will be invited in and be a part of that. So here's a question I want you to think about and also to comment on. It'll be pinned on the comment section. And here's a question. Have you ever wished for more excitement and later realized you were missing what really mattered? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Now, if you have not yet subscribed, this is a great time to subscribe. Hit the thumbs up button and let's push back against cultural lies about marriage. Let's do it together. Let's partner together and make this happen. Okay. And so let me also suggest that you watch this other video that's going to come up here in a few seconds. And please share with at least one other person who you know that will benefit just like you are from watching these videos. With that said, my friend, God bless you and may his grace and his peace rest upon you and your relationship. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video. So make sure you subscribe. I'll see you then. God bless.